الله أكبر الله أكبر لا
من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Dear viewers, thank you for joining us in this evening's edition of SAJ Mahal, the title of which is Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves. Many years ago, in the mid-80s, 1985 I believe to be precise, a very famous group called the Eurythmics, along with the legendary Rita Franklin, recorded a very famous song called Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves. It sold millions of copies worldwide and was nominated for many, many awards. Over the years, that song and its lyrics have become an anthem for feminists. I'm going to read out the lyrics of that song to you this evening, and it's because they relate to the topics I wish to discuss, and I think they quite relate to our guest this evening as well. So, now there was a time when they used to say that behind every great man there had to be a great woman. But in these times of change, you know that is no longer true. So we're coming out of the kitchen. Sisters are doing it for themselves, standing on their own 2 feet. Mothers, daughters, and their daughters too. Woman to woman, we're singing with you. The inferior sex got a new exterior. We got doctors, lawyers, architects, politicians, and artists too. So, dear viewers, in our studio this evening, we have 2 very special guests who are definitely not confined to the kitchen. Remarkably, both ladies have got quite a lot in common. Both hail, born and bred in the Lancashire town of Nelson. Both have comprehensive school education, were amongst the first within their peer group to go to university, come from traditional Orthodox British Pakistani families, both with backgrounds in education and local politics. Now this is the important bit. Both bold and brave enough to defy convention and create their own life and career paths. In addition to her role as a teacher and counsellor, my first guest has a passion for mental well-being. In 2018, she founded Essential Health and Wellbeing Limited, where she delivers stress management workshops and creates bespoke meditation programs. In addition to contributing via blog and several newspaper articles, she recently self-published a well-being and gratitude journal. A very busy lady indeed. Welcome to Sadia Bashir. Welcome, Sadia. And she's smiling because I've got her name right.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, amongst us, we also have a multimedia artist, creative director, educator, and art consultant. Her many degrees and master's degrees include a master's in traditional Islamic arts, which she gained via scholarship at the Royal College of Arts. She has published her first novel, Through Brown Eyes. Inspired through a creative journey, she is Shaida Ahmed. A very warm welcome to you, Shaida. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, Shaida, I know currently you're dividing your time between Qatar and England. Tell me how that's working out for you.
I think it's working out quite perfect, really. I think it's how you balance your time. And the time that I have in Qatar is scheduled for work, and then the time I have in England is good quality time with family and friends. So, and it's good balance.
Okay. Right, before I go to Sadia and ask my first question, can I mention to our lovely audience, as always, we have a live call number for you, 0161 529 9455. Please call us with any questions you have, any comments you have, any observations you may have related to the topic that we're discussing tonight. And also, may I also mention my email address, which is saj@sajmahal with 2Ls.com. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing from you very much. So, Sadia, I'd like to start off firstly by asking you, coming from the background that you do, which I've described, what has been the main obstacles in your journey?
I think the era that I grew up in was when we generally got married quite at a young age. So that was quite challenging in itself. So I didn't study until my early 30s, and then working, studying, single parent.
So in the early 30s, you said, yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So that was when I did my degree and went into teaching at that time. So I think it's a struggle just being a single parent and bringing up a child. You want to be a good role model for your child. And it's just all those obstacles, but then you get on with it because you want to be a good example for your child as well. But then I've had a very supportive family.
Good.
So even with the obstacles, the support from my sisters, my parents, friends as well, it makes all the difference. It makes your journey a little bit easier, I think.
So that's good that you have the supportive family, because quite often that can be a challenge. Did you find, I find this quite often, that where the family is supportive, sometimes the greater family and perhaps the community at large can put on pressures from the family? Did you find that at all, or did you just block it out?
Not really. I think even though I've lived in Nelson all my life, because my circle of friends have been outside of Nelson, it's been more Burnley and Manchester, I've not really noted it as such and just got on with things.
Okay.
And I think initially when there's changes, even your parents and your family can find it a little bit hard for them to start with, but then they do become supportive after. And not from the wider community that I could see.
Okay,
really.
all right, thank you. So Shada, you've, knowing as I know you, you've had your fair share of issues throughout your life. You know, you were quite young, parents sadly departed at quite an early age. So tell me about all the obstacles that you've had to overcome and how you've overcome them.
I think, to be honest with you, life is a journey within itself, and you don't really know about the obstacles until you're aware of them. For example, like my first obstacle was when I went to university, and I remember looking around on campus and thinking, oh my God, I'm actually coloured. That was the first thing I thought was, I'm actually different. I wasn't aware of the fact that I was any different, because school was like, there wasn't many Pakistani children in the school, in my class. And then the Gulf War happened, and I was getting questioned, are you Muslim? And then I was aware, oh, actually, yeah, I am Muslim. So these were some of the challenges. But one challenge we didn't have as a family was that my mother always encouraged us that we had to have an education. That was like, there was no choice and no compromise on that. And then the challenge of being at university and being the first sort of females, like the first generation, it was like, okay, we have to get you married, and otherwise our daughters might run off with, someone from not the culture. So that was the next challenge. So it was like trip to Pakistan.
Which university was it?
I was at Leeds.
Leeds.
My first university was Leeds. And I was studying at Yorkshire Sculpture Park, which was where the arts were, Brighton Hall.
Okay.
And then the next hurdle was going to Pakistan and never having been before. And because there was 9 of us, we had to take turns on who's going. It wasn't like get all 9 kids on. So that was another hurdle. I
had to text your younger brother to check how many of you there were earlier today, actually.
So that itself was a hurdle. Okay. And then being a wife, and then becoming a mother. So there's lots of challenges and hurdles, I think, as an individual you face first, before you have the cultural and the religious hurdles as well. These sort of come alongside all the different roles that you're playing throughout your life.
But what intrigues me, especially about yourself and Sadia, ladies of your position, is that you kind of have this role planted upon you. You get married, you've got a husband now, you've got a home, but you both have just carried on, if you like. You haven't said that, this is it, I've got my role now, and that's who I'm going to be. That's what today's program is essentially about, really. So what is it that kept you sort of going, and you're still going, obviously?
Do you want to answer that first?
I think looking back, it's just wanting to better yourself, wanting to get out of your comfort zone. I think when I became a counsellor, it's not something that I envisaged or thought of pursuing that line at all. It just seemed to happen. But it's also about, it is about self-improvement and wanting to do something out of your comfort zone, because that's when you grow as an individual, I think. And just the basic home duties sometimes aren't enough.
Yes, right.
You don't want to become stagnant.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm trying to fathom out, if possible, is where does that kind of drive or motivation come from? And it do, for some people, and it doesn't for others.
I think, to be honest with you, it was, I think, being born in England, you know, having that independence and the schooling and the education and the mindset does give you a drive. You know, like the foundation starts in school, and then you go to high school, you know, your friends are going, you're planning university. So we knew the opportunity was there. I mean, despite the fact, I mean, you know, my role in the house was always to make the rotis and the atta. So it was like, there was that role. Despite having to do all the domestic chores, you still knew that you had that opportunity when you went to college, you got your grades, you could apply to university. So the drive sort of comes from an early age that gives you that opportunity, because you start believing in yourself, actually, I'm really good at this, or I'm good at this subject, maybe I can try this. And I think married, when you get married, as a woman, you become more independent. It's like more freedom, because it's not like, okay, mom, I'm going here, I'm doing this. It sort of gives you a little bit more freedom and independence.
Well, obviously that can depend on your partner, because it can, for some women, be the opposite. Whereas they've had the freedom within their own family household, and depending on what kind of husband or partner they have, that individual can be restrictive as well. So it really depends, doesn't it? Sadia, I know I was talking to you, and you're saying that you don't really quite see yourself as a politician. What do you see yourself as?
In that role?
Not necessarily in that role, just in you as an individual.
How do I see myself as an individual? I just get on with what I need to get on with. And I think, just going back to what you said about drive as well, I think it's when you're passionate about something that drives you forward, and you want to take that time out to be able to do it. I enjoy my teaching role. I'm very passionate about well-being, and being a counsellor as well. I enjoy being part of that team. I'm fortunate enough to work with some colleagues who are very supportive, and they want to work for the betterment of Nelson, and it's nice to have that passion, that drive. And that's what gets you where you want to be, really, I think.
So obviously you've been in lots of different roles. How would you define yourself? How do you see yourself?
I think my mind is very creative, and I'm very multitask. That's a huge problem I had since I was a child. You know, I asked a lot of questions, you know, like why all the time, you know, why were we born here? Why did my parents have to come here? So I was always, you know, asking these questions. And I think it's important to also establish and understand, you know, what sort of thing. For example, when I was married, in my first marriage, I was never an artist. I actually was never an artist until I got divorced. And that's when my art started. But it was always
the next question, actually. At what point did you decide you are, or you are going to be an artist? What led up to that?
I think, I mean, obviously when I'd gone to college, and, you know, I was studying at Bretton Hall, and I was studying under a very famous potter called Jim Robertson. I knew I had the talent, but then my priority was my married life, and then the children came, and then you become the mother, so your priority is the children. It wasn't the art. So you, as a woman, you sort of shelf everything as priority: husband, kids, me. I was always at the bottom, you know, and when that time and moment came, it's like putting a woman in a bottle and putting a cork on it. You suppressed. So as soon as the cork was lifted, it sort of happened. I still remember, it's 2007 actually, Imran Khan was a chancellor at Bradford University, and I got an email saying, you know, we're doing this exhibition with 3 senior artists, Iqbal Hussain, Naheed Raza, and Jamal Shah. And for me, they were, you know, senior. And this was Imran Khan. It's like, and we'd like you to exhibit. And I'm thinking, I haven't done my art for like 14 years. So what do I do? And I was a sculptor. And that was the time that I thought, hang on a minute, this is who I am. You know, it was that little click. that made me realize, and it's like, okay, this is about me now, not about nobody else. So I think no matter what you do, you know, everyone's an individual, and everyone deep down inside has some gift and some talent, you know, whether, you know, whatever they're talented at, and at some point it will always come through, but you've got to really believe in yourself. And I think my belief in myself had faded over a decade. When I started believing in myself again, it just came back.
Okay, before I go over to Sadia again, just to remind our viewers of the live call number, it's 0161 529 9455. We'll be happy to hear from you. So Sadia, what were the events leading up to you setting up your Essential Health and Wellbeing business?
About, I think it's just less than a decade ago, I went through quite a challenging time in my own life, and I suffered a lot of stress and anxiety. And it was to the point where I was overwhelmed. I was physically and mentally ill, and it got that severe where I ended up resigning from my position. And I thought, right, I need to sort myself out. I just got into teaching profession at that time, and there was a lot going on personally and professionally. It was just too much for me to cope with.
Just hold that there for me and let you recollect your thoughts. Sorry, you were just getting into it. We'll have a live caller. Hello, who's calling, please?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
TV volume. Person who's calling, could you kindly turn your volume down, please?
Hello,
Are you there?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I'm here. Assalamu alaikum.
Right, we'll retry in a bit. Okay, give us a few minutes. Sorry, Sadia, please carry on.
And I think it was at that point that I thought I need to sort myself out. So I was familiar with meditation, growing up with the Azimi Sufi order.
So you were familiar with meditation already?
Familiar with meditation. I've kind of grown up with it, being part of a Sufi order from a very young age.
Okay, just hold. I'd like to find out how you were already familiar with meditation, but I think we got that caller back again. Who's calling, please?
Hello, my name's Mina.
Hello, Smina.
Hi, Saj. Hello, bye, Saj. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam.
Love the title of the show this week.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Firstly, just want to say well done to both of you for your success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just my question is, I've just been listening to you, and obviously both very successful. One of the things I was going to ask, but you've mentioned it, that you did have family backing, which is always wonderful. What would you say to somebody who has that dry shadow that you mentioned, would love to become a successful person, but doesn't have the backing of the family? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think it's a very good question. I think one thing you've got to realise, like I was saying, there's different stages of your life, and you get to a stage as an adult, you can make your decisions, you know, where when you don't have that support of the family, you know, at a younger age, you know, I always break life down into decades. There's a stage of your life where, I mean, in my case, for instance, my parents passed away. So, you know, I was totally, completely lost, and I felt like I was out there on my own. You've got to have that drive within yourself. And if you have that passion and drive within yourself, you don't really need any support. Remember, you're an individual. Every individual is gifted and talented. You've got to really believe in yourself, and that drive will come naturally.
Very good. Are you there? Still there? No? Okay, right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your call, Smina. Really nice to hear from you. Thank you, Shal. So, I'm interested, how did you grow up with meditation? What kind of meditation?
So my parents were part of the Azimi Silsila. So Azimi Silsila, so it was in a spiritual Sufi order.
Oh, right.
So from a very young age, we would go to Manchester every week.
Really?
And I didn't really understand meditation at that age. Wow. But we'd take part in it. But as I got older, I would have phases where I would be very religiously follow the Silsila Asbaq, so zikr and meditation, etc. But I didn't do it consistently.
Right, okay.
And at that period in my life when I basically hit rock bottom, I thought I need to go back into what I know. But I explored other forms of meditation. At that time, I hadn't really made a strong association with the spiritual meditation and stress as such. So I explored mindfulness and lots of different guided meditations, and I started feeling better. Then I explored positive psychology techniques like the practice of gratitude, And I'd previously studied NLP from when I used to work as a learning mentor, and I was applying lots of different strategies that I'd learnt. And from there, because I felt better, I was in a position where I was able to try it on other people. So I had a friend of mine who invited me to a school and some parents groups. So I delivered a few sessions there, and one of them was about mental well-being. And people responded very well to it. So it kind of slowly just developed from there, really. It wasn't intentional. And I thought, this is benefiting people. I know how much it benefits me. And just one step led to another, really.
Wow, fascinating.
That's how I had a dream about the business name, actually, Essential Health and Wellbeing, and it kind of came about from there.
So you had a kind of vision for the name, kind of.
Yeah.
Great. So something you as a child perhaps wouldn't have looked forward to or possibly resisted, which was the meditation sessions that your parents took you to, eventually came to your rescue, and it's something that you now promote. It
wasn't, not resistance as such. Didn't have that understanding at that age. But I suppose you take something on board. And I know everybody would be sat there meditating with their eyes closed, etc. And you'd try it for a bit, then you're squinting and looking around because you didn't fully understand it at that age. But yes.
What I was trying to drive at actually was a message for our young people that parents always know best, and when parents guide you towards something, they do have your best interests at heart, and you may not realize at that particular time perhaps, but in the long term, quite often, mostly, you do find benefits. Would you agree with that?
I think I can totally relate to what Sadia is saying there, because I know when, I had like an isolated period in my life, I'd actually turned to Sufism and Rumi's poetry, and it was my faith. It was like, it was my relationship with God, with God, and that I'd like...
Did that suddenly happen, because, so you're in a particular stage of your life, you're perhaps lonely, lost, not quite sure about yourself. I think most of us have that situation in our life. So were you looking and that's what you discovered, or was it always a part of you, but then it became, you became more involved?
I think I was more aware of God, because when you want something and you're in need, that's when you turn to God. When life is hunky-dory, you don't really need God. And I remember I did something horrendous, like I got candle one night and I was so angry, because my life seemed so trivial, like mum had died, dad had died, my whole life was a disaster. My youngest daughter was in hospital, and I remember putting a candle in the room. And I thought, if there isn't a light in there, this candle's going to light. I mean, it's really
just hold that. I think we've all got those kind of moments. I believe we have another caller. Who's calling, please?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. That sounds like Brother Haroon Zaman Sahib from Berry.
Sajad Bey, Sajad Shahid, and Sadia. There are three S's today. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Three S's.
Wa alaikum salam.
Shahida, yes.
I'm very impressed with the achievement of the ladies there. Put a flag on the area in which some possible development can take place. Those of the disabled children, disabled adults, children going into adulthood, do you think art can help them psychologically improve their confidence? And if so, how would you support that? And secondly, if I may have a supplementary, there is a lot of art in Pakistan within the 4 or 5 districts of Pakistan, the Chetrali, the Gilgit and Skardu, Balochi, Sindhi. Have you tried to portray those arts in any way at the international level?
Thank you very much, Haroon. Shahida.
Some interesting questions. I'm going to try and answer them quite short, because they're, you can go into depth with them. I think art does help a lot of things, but a lot of children with disability, with mental health. But then again, creativity does. Children, if they're given the opportunity of form of creativity, even meditation, it's a form of support and help, And regarding looking at other forms of art, Chitrali art, Sindhi art, Punjabi art, myself, I've travelled intensively And there is a lot of art that's showcased all over the world. And at the moment, you've even got Dubai Expo that's, you know, got lots of...
Dubai Expo, yeah.
So the thing is, my question to you would be, do our local community, Pakistani community, participate with exhibitions, visit exhibitions, and actually recognize and appreciate art? Because there's a huge niche out there.
Right, that's an excellent question. Back to our audience, viewers, dear viewers, would love to hear your response for that question that Shahid has put to us. Right, so going back to interrupted you.
About my candle?
Yes, you can, yeah.
So one day, you know, I was so angry, you know, thinking, you know, how can you take my mum? How can you take my dad? If you know, like, Allah is so great, then why is my life like this?
We think we've got an answer to your question. Right, we have
that was quick, that was fast.
Who's calling, please?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, that sounds like Dr. Mohammed from Birmingham.
Yes, yes.
How are you, sir?
Not too bad.
Great to hear from you. Dr. Sir, before you proceed, I have a question for you. You know, people are struggling to get hold of doctors and they can't get appointments, they can't even talk to them on the phone. Yet there you are. I wish you were in our area. You managed to find the time to ring us every week, which I'm really grateful for. We really look forward to. So please go ahead with your question or comment.
I'm not anymore. I'm retired now. Hello.
Hello. Yes, we can hear you.
You know, I was listening to a program that this meditation helps you if you are depressed or anxious.
Yes.
Whatever religion you belong to.
Yes.
So this lady on the left-hand side was talking of meditation. Can she explain and tell us more about it? You know, about meditation. How does it help if you are feeling a bit low in your spirits or a bit down? You know.
Did you understand that? Yeah. Yes, right. Sadia will answer your question, Doctor.
Assalamu alaikum. If you're feeling a bit low down, a bit stressed or anxious, meditation is really beneficial actually. And it helps if you start with something simple. Even if it's 5-10 minutes a day, but it needs to be consistent in order for it to have an effect. Start with something like a guided meditation, like mindfulness. Normally when we're stressed or we feel anxious, it's because our mind isn't focused on the present. And we tend to think about either the future or the past or mull over, or we're revisiting situations. So with mindfulness, a simple breathing meditation or a body scan, that allows your mind to focus on the present. And as you do so, stress, anxiety, depression, with time, they begin to reduce. If you do something like 10 minutes a day, research shows that just for 10 minutes a day, meditating twice a day will have an impact on your cognitive and your psychological mind really. It will make a massive difference if you do it over a period of time. Within 2 weeks you should start seeing a bit of a difference. And the more you focus on being present, the better you'll start to feel with regards to stress and anxiety. So it's a good starting point, mindful meditation.
Well, thank you very much. And of course namaz can help as well, because that's a form of meditation.
It is, if you're able to focus on what you're doing, if you haven't got lots of thoughts. So going back to what you said about the meditation and our silsila, our sheikh used to really focus on meditation because that would help with your prayer and your namaz. So when you are praying, you're able to focus on what you're doing and you're not thinking about the washing up or thinking about other things. So it's about being able to retrain your brain so that you are able to focus on what you're doing.
Right, thank you. I was going to raise this a bit further into the interview, but it's irrelevant now. So a lot of your artwork features the dervishes and so forth, which is a form of meditation as well. I've got to tell you actually that you organised at the ACE Centre, I don't know how long ago it was, a demonstration, if you like, an exhibition of these dervishes. It was the first time I'd encountered anything like that. So tell me why it's such an important part of your life and your artwork. As I said, it features quite a lot. Yeah,
it's a very good question actually, because in 2005 when my father passed away, my art form is actually sculpture. So I specialise in clay, sculpture. Yes. So that's my art form. So in 2005 when my father passed away, I had a very profound dream. And I'm not a dreamer, you know, like some people say I saw this dream and this happened. I'm actually not a dreamer, or if I have one, I don't remember it. And in this dream, it was just this white cloth flapping, going, Allah, Allah, Allah. And I woke up really scared, thinking, what's that sound? And I had no idea. And then one day I was watching television and I'd seen the whirling dervishes spinning, and it was actually the same sound.
Right, just hold that there because we have another caller. Who's calling, please?
Sorry, it's not another caller, it's me again.
Oh, hello, Smina, welcome back.
Thank you. Sorry, obviously you can tell I'm very interested in your programme this evening.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, this is a question for Sadia.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just obviously the meditating and the wellness, it's something I'm very passionate about. Obviously not to the length and the knowledge that you've got. Earlier in the interview, you were just mentioning that you had been doing some sessions in schools. I just wondered whether you're doing those sessions now, or if while in the interview you can mention whether you could suggest any children, you know, maybe secondary age. Thank you.
Any meditations for secondary children?
She is a school teacher, by the way.
Okay,
this lady.
Yeah. Currently,
Who happens to be my sister.
Oh,
I
think that for secondary age children, if you look at apps like Headspace, there's Calm. If you have a look on YouTube, there's lots of meditations. Mindful meditation is always the best start, really, and a guided one allows your brain to just kind of follow what's being said, so you don't have to think about what's going on too much yourself. There's so many different meditations, sometimes it's hard to think of what to go with. Either a mindful meditation that focuses on breathing and the body scan, or a gratitude meditation that's simple and easy to follow, starting with just about 5 or 10 minutes. And as people begin to develop that practice of it, and they're able to sit still for longer, they're able to focus, and you can develop that time. I used to actually do a bit of a mindful meditation with my own children. I'm a Year 6 teacher. And last year, before the day would start with the formal lessons, we would just literally sit for 5 minutes and just do a mindful breathing meditation. And they really enjoyed it, and it would help them relax. I think in today's society, there's so much anxiety with our young people, and stress, and social media, and all these issues and pressures that they have, that they need something to do with mindfulness and meditation just to calm down the anxiety. So try some of those apps are very good, or something on YouTube. Just a 5-minute mindful breathing meditation would be really beneficial.
Obviously, you can check out Sadia's website.
You can have a...
tell us about that if people want to find out more about it.
I've got some information on my website, and I am updating some parts of it as well. I have got some meditations on YouTube, but if you get in touch, if you get in touch with me, I can forward you some links, and we can have a chat about what might be suitable if you like.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, are you still there? I think you might have gone by now. Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. So Shada, okay.
So I had this dream, and then, you know, I'd seen on the television, it was whirling dervishes, and I thought, oh my God, that's my dream.
Did you, were you not aware of...
I had never seen a whirling dervish in my life.
Really?
I had no idea. Yeah. And when I went to art school, it was like landscape, nude drawing. It was nothing to do with, you know, my background. It wasn't until I started traveling and I looked at Islamic art, and I decided that was what I wanted to share with my audience. And I wasn't a painter, you know, like that wasn't my speciality. So I remember, you know, I was that depressed. I resigned from work. I was a deputy head teacher at the time. And
which was where?
I was at Lomisha, St John's, St John
Southworth,
right, okay. Teaching, and I was also teaching Year 6. So then what I'd done is I was at home, and I look at these 4 walls and look at the time, and when I'm picking the kids up, dropping them off. And then a friend of mine randomly said, I've got loads of canvases, I know you're an artist, have them. So when I went to pick them up, they were like really large, they were huge canvases. So, and then someone else randomly gave me some paint. So one day, you know, I was that depressed, I just got up and started painting the dream. Wow. So the first painting is very illustrative, you know, because I'd never seen a dervish. And I was very fortunate enough, because it was that same painting that went into an exhibition for Prince Charles. Right. And then I flew to Istanbul in 2008, and I actually studied the whirling dervish. Really? So for a decade then, for one whole decade, up until 2019, I was painting the whirling dervishes. And it was my connection, because again, it was that spirituality of how they take the positivity and remove the negativity, and it's a whole cleansing process. And Rumi had really illuminated my heart and helped me through my journey.
Yes.
You know, his poetry had a lot of reasoning and answers to a lot of the problems I had in my life.
Yeah.
So when I was painting, it was my spiritual connection.
Yeah, I mean, I find it fascinating. As I said, I've read about you, I know you, and looking at your art, it features quite a lot, and I was wondering, you know, and it means a lot to you, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is that something you would do yourself, the act of actually doing the whirling?
It's a form, actually, of meditation. It's another form of meditation.
Is that something
when the
you
spin?
do?
I meditate, but not in the form.
Because
I don't
can't
spin
imagine you
because
spinning.
no, the spinning is actually, it's really, really difficult.
Is it? Yes.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
And the way that they spin, it's like they're floating in air. It's phenomenal, you know, to see it live. It's absolutely amazing. But the thing is then, every time I try and paint something or do a project or get commission, somehow I'd always end up painting a whirling dervish.
Right, enough of them then. I've got to ask you, which is your favourite kind of work of art or portrait?
I think my favourite piece of work is I was doing a master's degree and I was trying to make traditional Islamic art modern, and I always question the 99 names of Allah.
Yes.
You know, and what they represented, being humble, being pious. So during my research and my master's, you know, program, I mean, it didn't happen. It wasn't happening. It's like, God, this is total failure. And then I actually realised that if I make a geometrical form with the 7 layers of heaven, it comes back to one thing. But what I'd done is I changed the calligraphy to Kufic, so it looked like a barcode. So like the Kaaba, you know, it's like you never know what's inside, but what you see on the surface, we make a judgment. Like I look at you and think, right, he might be this and he might be that. We do make a judgment. So I wanted it to be all equal. So I made these cubes. They're all in different sizes, 7 layers, and it came back to one, which was Allah. Oneness. So that's my favourite piece, and fortunately it's travelled the world, because it's been to Australia Museum, it's been to Sharjah, it's been to Doha, it's come back to England.
Great. Okay.
So that's one of my favourite pieces.
Okay, excellent. Sadi, are you an art person at all, or is that not something?
I do like Islamic calligraphy.
Do you? Yeah, yeah.
I'll have to have a look at some of your work.
Yes, yeah. Idi Sattar, I like his portrait.
The portrait.
Yeah,
I was very privileged to do that. That was a commission for a client.
I really love that. So I've got to ask you, I mean, you travel around and you like to meet and be seen with some well-known famous people. So Shada, who's your favourite person that you met?
I don't think I like to meet. It's just been coincidence, you know, like I've been invited or commissioned. It's just been potluck.
Yes.
You know, and I always say, being in the right place at the right time makes a huge difference. I think I met some fascinating people over my journey, and I was privileged enough to interview Imran Khan as well and stay over when his nephew got engaged. But I think Sitar Idi was special for me because of going and seeing him, meeting him, doing his portrait. Doing a portrait, you know, I've done Amir Khan as well and Imran Khan, but I think meeting someone and doing the portrait is different to seeing a photograph and doing it. So when I'd met Sitar Saab, you know, and one of my friends had adopted her daughter from the Idi Foundation, and I saw how they were working and how humble they were. You know, for me, you know, someone I would highly, highly regard, you know, and he led by example for me. You know, and definitely Sitar Idi.
Thank you. So in your work, Sadi, obviously with the council, and you help organise those wonderful awards evening. Are you getting in touch with people that you thought, you know, weren't part of your scene or out of your reach and so forth?
Sorry, say that again.
Are you meeting interesting people through your work now?
Without a doubt, yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm more in touch with a wider network of people. And it's always nice to meet people and talk to them about different things.
Yeah.
The awards ceremony was really good.
Yes, yeah.
I met lots of wonderful people who made such a difference to Nelson.
You did. It was a wonderful evening. Now, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, I have an announcement to make regarding the programme scheduling. This program, SAJ Mahal, from next week is changing the dates. It's really in anticipation of Ramzan Sharif. So there's quite a few changes coming on board. From next week, this program will no longer be on a Wednesday, it will be on a Thursday. And the timing is also changing from 8 till 9 to 7 till 8. I'll hopefully remind you at the end as well. So from next week, there'll be no SAJ Mahal on a Wednesday, it'll be on a Thursday, and it'll be between 7 till 8. Thank you very much. Ladies, I don't know if you knew, yesterday was World Hijab Day.
I read it in the media.
Did you? Yeah. Reason why I'm not being judgmental or anything, think, what's he going to ask now? No, because hijabs feature quite a lot in your work as well. The sculptures that you've done.
The sculptures, the hijab was, you know, when everything was going on about the hijab and it became such a media issue, I actually decided to make a whole series of sculptural hijabs, and I called it Beyond Stereotypes because I wanted everyone to just look at the hijab and not the woman. So they were quite scary, you know, when you haven't got a head in there. So basically I was trying to say that, you know, don't judge the woman, you know, as such, the two separate things, you know, and I mean, there's a lot of political, personal reasoning to why I'd done it, to say that this piece, you know, are you judging that or are you judging the woman? So it was for an exhibition called Beyond Stereotypes, and that's all I did. And after that I thought, you know what, I don't think I should be doing anything political in my work as such.
Okay. Any comments on the hijab, World Hijab Day? Do you know anything about it, Sadia?
Well, yesterday I was at school, so it was Chinese New Year. We were focusing on that.
Chinese New Year, yes, exactly. Go on, tell us what you did for Chinese New Year then.
Nothing specific as such. We just make sure the children were a bit more informed and they're aware of what was happening and how the Chinese New Year is celebrated, really.
Go on, tell us a little bit more. How did they celebrate?
Well, it's the year of the tiger. I'm a tiger, according to Chinese astrology. So I'm hoping it'll be a good year for me, inshallah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Right, we'll have another call. Who's calling, please?
It's Farouk calling.
Farouk?
Yeah.
Farouk, where are you ringing from?
Nelson.
Nelson, Farouk, what would you like to say?
I'd like to ask Sadia about her journals that were advertised at the beginning of the show and where we can get them from.
Fantastic. Well, this is the two journals. One is the well-being one, and this is the gratitude one. Tell us more about what these entail, Sadia, how you came about these, how they can be helpful, and in specific to Farouk's question, where can they get them from?
Okay. They're both available on Amazon. The Gratitude Journal is more of a beginner's guide, really. If you want to focus on one area for your mental well-being, gratitude is a really good start. It's very powerful. And I think as a Muslim person, we say shukr alhamdulillah a lot, but do we actually feel gratitude? And it's about thinking thoughts of gratitude, feeling it, and actually living through gratitude. There's a lot of science in today's world that supports the notion of gratitude and how much it has an impact, really. And just the fact of when you journal with a focus on gratitude, it reduces stress by about 28%. So within that,
the act of actually writing a journal.
I think when you're journaling, you're thinking about what you're writing. And in my journal, I focus also on your reasons why you're grateful for something, as well as a note of appreciation. It improves your well-being, it improves your immune system, it boosts your mood, happiness, contentment. So lots of benefits, especially with regards to stress and anxiety side of it. And as part of that, there's also meditation. So there's a QR code and you can access it through your phone. It takes you straight to a YouTube link. And gratitude and meditation, both are very beneficial for your mental well-being. So combined, it has quite a good impact on the mind, improves your well-being.
And is the journal primarily for the individual, or do you have a role in that as well?
My role is guiding you through with the prompts. And I have my details at the back of the journal if people want to ask for any more information. But the reason why I developed the journals was there's so much research into journaling nowadays, and it's a self-help guide where people can just pick something up and think, right, I can work through this and improve my mental well-being. With the blue one, that focuses on the main areas that I focus on. With gratitude, you're focusing on meditation, different ways that you can apply mindfulness, and also affirmations. But in today's society, we want things that work quickly. They don't take a lot of time. We want a quick 5-minute fix. And that's what I've tried to achieve through those, but it's consistency. Anything that you do with consistency, you're going to achieve results with. So hopefully, inshallah, that should help.
Do you find people stick to them, or do they kind of start off enthusiastic and then something comes up and they fail to fill it? And
I've had some good feedback, so I'm hoping that people stick to it. And with anything, your motivation doesn't last. You've got to have that discipline, you've got to have that consistency.
Yes.
It's like sometimes when I need to go to the gym and I've had a hard day at work and I think, shall I go or shall I not go? But you know that going regularly is going to make that difference, and you feel so much better after you've been. And it's the same with anything. If you stick to consistency, you're going to achieve results. And it's better to have that 5-10 minutes a day rather than just now and again put in more time.
Great, thank you. Well, wow, 3 minutes, I can't believe it. We must get on to this book right here. This is Shaida's book. She's written Through Brown Eyes. Very quickly, Shaida, tell me how that came about and why is it now that you've written it?
When I was working and living in Karachi, a friend of mine was Zeba Bakhtiar, who's like an actress. And she used to always say to me, you love telling stories, why don't you write a book?
Right.
And I thought it was quite hilarious at the time because my English teacher told me I couldn't spell and I was dyslexic. So over the years, you know, I'd collected so many stories of women and what had gone up, and I always wanted to write an empowering book, you know, for women. So the title, I always thought it's going to be Through Brown Eyes because it's story through my eyes. And then
so you knew of the title a long time ago, did you?
I think I thought of the title well before I wrote the book, which was in 2002. And then I never really thought it would happen.
2 minutes quickly. I've got to get this question in because it's really interesting. I mean, as I was reading it, initially I started off, the preface or introduction, I thought, oh, she's not written this and it's not Shaida. But as I started reading it...
Oh, thanks. So, that makes me feel really good.
No, that first introduction bit, I thought, no, she's not written this. But as I got into it, it's definitely you come out and so on. Yeah. But what I really want to find out is when you're writing it, obviously it's based on your life experiences, any book would be. But you've written it specifically as a novel. You know, that's what it is. But did you kept going straight, I've got to be careful how I write this? Because
no, I think first of all, I never thought I was a writer and I never thought I could write a book. I think you just got to express and do it. And then it wasn't until I met a well-known editor and I said, should come to Qatar. And I said, you know what, I've written a book. And she goes, seriously, send me the first few chapters. And I had. And again, she was like... I'm
really sorry, Shaida, I'm going to have to cut you off.
Okay, no worries.
I've got 1 minute left. I need to remind people again, my show next week it won't be on a Wednesday. The time has changed and the day has changed. It will be on a Thursday, 7 till 8. Please remember that. Tune in next week. We'll look forward to seeing you. Thank you so very much to my guest, Sadia Bashir, making sure I get her name right, and Shaida Ahmed. So nice to have you here. Thank you for
so
sharing
much
your
for having
stories
us.
and experiences. Thank you very much to our lovely viewers who called. We really appreciate it. Thanks again, and we will hopefully see you next week, inshallah. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.